Hi, my name is Jill Monroe. I'm a member of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to be talking with the directors behind the hit Stars crime drama Power Book 4 Force. We're going to get things kicked off by introducing you to the AAFCA members that are on the call today, starting with Carolyn Hines in Canada, Karan Lenore in Charlottesville, Virginia, Dana Abercrombie in New York, Najir Chambers in Maryland, Nancy Green in Los Angeles, and myself. We will be speaking with the amazing directors, Sierra Glade, Dion Taylor, and Yves Riviere.
My name is Najir Chambers. I am of Big Gold Belt Media. It's a pleasure to talk to you three today in preparation for season 2 of Power Book 4 Force. So many questions, but as a long-term Power fan, there's one thing I know from covering this show all the way since the roots, that the most important and pivotal episodes of every season is 3, 8, and 10. And somebody put some science together to get the directors of those episodes here today. I want to talk about knowing how important these episodes are for the season. What did you all want to bring to these episodes to really keep that momentum going? And what can fans expect for the season?
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in and go first since I'm episode 3, 203 in the building, Warren Ice Cream. I feel like, what we tried to accomplish for 203 was just to really kick stuff, kick things off. Like in the first couple of episodes, we get you warmed back up to, catch you back up to things that happened last season, and we start putting some things in motion. And then on episode 3, we out of there, and it's just so much going on. And I think that'll kind of set the pace for these other episodes by the time we get to these other gentlemen's episodes. And then they just gonna keep it popping and then wrap it up real nice for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in there. Dion, what's up, man? So I'm 208, which I'm the setup man for Dion's episode, right? So that's when everything starts hopping and jumping off, man. So it's a great episode. I know we can't say much about it, but it's the buildup. It's the buildup leading to the finale. You know what I mean? And Dion is the closer. So,
man, I would say this. First of all, Yves, that's on here right now, is legendary, and he's somebody that when I was able to jump into the TV space. It was his work that I seen first across the board on the entire Power universe. I just had to go watch and study and be like, let me see what this dude doing, because there's something he doing over there. He making everybody watch. So I got to see what he doing. But I think this season, I've been blessed enough, man, to be able to do. I was able to hop in and do season 1's finale, and then also this one. But it does not work at all if everyone that's on this call doesn't do what they do at the highest clip. And Yves just said something that was pretty crazy, because coming off of his episode, he raised the bar so high on this one where I was like, all right, well, where does it go? You know what I mean? And believe it or not, the world that 50 and Mark Canton and all of them have set up on this show is pretty amazing, because they allow the directors to actually come there, unlike traditional TV, and actually have a voice and do their thing, which is really dope. You get to insert yourself as a director when you make these episodes. And I think it's why the Power universe is so dope, and why it's so well put together, because behind the camera are some of the greatest filmmakers that we've seen working on these things. You know what I mean? And so I'm excited for 2. I think that this will be the best season you've ever seen in terms of the cast and what they're doing and how they're doing it and what the plot of the story is. And and then at the end, when they all get on the boat and it blows up, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they killed all of them. I made that up. But it's a pretty powerful season, and I think you guys are going to be blown away. Joseph Sikora is insane. I would also say that Chris Lofton, I think this is going to be his moment. Like Chris Lofton does some things in this series that you'll understand just how talented he is, but also how dedicated he is as an actor.
Hi, everyone. Carolyn for Here's What Toss and Carolyn Toss podcast. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for this crazy season. We've only been for AAFCA, we've only been able to see a few episodes, but this season is nuts. Sierra, you mentioned the title of your episode is Love and Ice Cream. I think the title for this season should be Love and War. Because
mine is War and Ice Cream.
War and Ice Cream, sorry, War and Ice Cream, but it should be
so
Love and War.
Part is correct, yes.
Love and War, and the reason I mentioned Love and War is because I think the most interesting dynamic about this season is the dynamics between the families. It's like not only war between the cartels and on the streets, but it's the war between the families. Like everyone is vying for supremacy in their own families. The Flynn children are like, you're contented with misogyny for the daughter, and for the son, he feels like he's being emasculated by his sister and by his father. And for Tommy, like he's trying to keep his nephew alive, but this boy is gung-ho, quote, like pun fully intended, on becoming a gunslinger. Like he thinks he's so bad, and like he's like Tommy is just trying to keep his nephew alive, but his nephew isn't listening. Then he has the whole issue with his mom, trying to make amends to him and their relationship. And also like even Diamond, he's trying to figure out his place on the streets and as a parolee. So I want all of you to talk about the dynamics of family in this season and the dynamics of love and war in this season. As Sierra, we can go with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head. Like, outside of them having to fight each other outside in like, the drug and crime world, it's every single one of these families has something going on within them. And I think that just really helps us like relate to the characters better, because like, do we not all have something going on in our families?
So
I know in particular I do, but it's like, those things like really help you like peel back those layers on those people. And you know what I'm saying? Like get to know them, get to love them. That's when you start vying for their causes and stuff like that. So I think that's just as much an important part as what they do out in the streets. You know what I'm saying? Because like some of those things translate and stuff like that. So I think I'm definitely excited for everybody to get to see other sides of these people and like dive deeper into their personal lives outside of just, them being outside. So I think that's something that, we definitely gonna get to look forward to. And it's gonna provide like a little relief from all of the gunslinging and this, that, and the third. Because, we want the show to have, depth to it and not just be like this one thing.
And Dion and Eve?
Yeah, Dion, thanks for the love earlier. Yeah, I mean, I've been working on Power since like the inception of it, right? Like I was always around. So for me, it's just interesting to always see Tommy's character, where he's going. And he always seems like he's looking for a family, right? Like his family was left back home with Ghost and Tasha and everything else. And I think, to Shooter's point, it's like we're seeing him now, meeting all these different people, but then also you're starting to see the storyline built within each of them. And, you're able to track that. And it gets interesting this season. You know what I mean? I think we see a side of Tommy. Tommy is a tough guy, but I think we all know, when he finds love. So there's a great storyline with that. And, it's, again, to Shooter's point, just seeing them all, outside of all the drama that happens and just how it's all, coming together with each of them. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. I would agree with, I think Shooter got it right as well. I love what she just articulated in terms of, looking for love and family issues. And Eve is right. I think that is the secret sauce to Power a bit, right? Across the Power universe. I think what's really great that has been nailed, obviously in this season with Gary Lennon, is something that people look over a lot, which is we are attracted to flawed characters because we're naturally flawed. And what happens is when you try to make people too perfect, we go away from it. We actually want to see people on screen that we're like, damn, I deal with that. Like I have trouble loving people, or damn, I don't have the means to get a car, or we actually gravitate towards seeing ourselves play out in front of us. And I think that Power does a really good job of showing people needing family, showing family turning their backs when you need them at certain times, people coming through when you didn't think they would come through. I think that the show does a really good job of that. And also trust. I think that has been like a really big, and that might be a 50 Cent thing, right? Because, you know, his music and his DNA as an artist has been built on like street life and, you know, and values and morals and codes, right? So a little bit of what I think Power does really well is deal with trust. Do I trust this person? Can I trust her? Can I trust him? You know what I mean? And those are, you know, those are red flags for all of us because we deal with that every day. So I think watching Joe or Tommy in this episode or this season and Isaac and, you know, the entire cast, it really weighs in the balance of, yeah, it's family, but it's also, even though it's family, can I trust you? Can I share this with you? Can I not? And I think that's what goes across the board into the whole Power universe. I think that's why we're very fascinated with the world. And, you know, Eve has done a wonderful job on all these Power shows in keeping that alive, because once you lose that, you don't really have anything. The family thing only goes so far, but, you know, dealing with those morals and those ethics and those codes and having flawed characters and people that, you know, damn, I can't believe she did that or he said that, or, you know, that's the everyday world that we live in. And I think that's, you know, Power does a really good job of holding the mirror up to all of us and being like, yo, even though this might be a little fictional, you know, you understand what we're trying to say, right? And then you go like, yeah, I got it. And that's what made Ghost and Tommy so fucking dope. You know what I mean? It was like, man, like they kept butting heads, but they were really family, but they don't trust each other at certain times. It just kind of gave you that energy and made it kinetic. And I think that's what you're going to get a lot of that in season 2.
I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. Hey, so one thing that I like about this show is that it really seems to balance the relationships between everyone and the slower parts of the story with like how dynamic and how gung-ho everything is. So I wanted to know if you guys can talk about keeping that balance so that it keeps the audience drawn in and it keeps everyone coming back for more.
You know, it's interesting doing television, right? Because like you have, for example, 10 episodes and you get 10 different directors coming in, and essentially a season is one giant film, right? So like everybody has to be on the same page with what the character's arc is and emotionally where he's going and, you know, just tracking all that. But I think, yeah, I mean, to your point, to kind of answer that question, I think it's just, you know, at the end of the day, just knowing the story, right? You just got to know where Tommy, for example, is, what was his journey, where he's coming from, and sort of like where it's going, you know what I mean? And just staying on track. And I think, you know, the writers do a fantastic job. You know, we got Gary Lennon, who took over season 2. And just basically shook everything up. He was originally on Power, and he knows the character very well. So it's, you know, kudos to the writers and Gary Lennon who really dive into each character and just track them all the way through, right? And I guess it's our job to just come in and maintain that balance and not go off the track, so to speak, and go somewhere. Then later on, another director can't fix it or tries to adjust it, but again, and the actors also know as well, you know, where they're going with it. And I think it's just our job to just, you know, maintain the storyline with the emotions and all the beats that are within that. So I hope that sort of answers that somewhat.
You know, I agree with him. I feel like that's a great point. It's like, you know, all of us are coming in. We all have different assignments in the sense of like what our episodes have to accomplish. And so to me, it's kind of like being on the interstate. Like sometimes you passing 18-wheelers and you hauling ass, you know what I'm saying? And other times you in the right lane on cruise control. And it's like, you need both of those moments to get where you're going. You feel me? So it's like having that pace and that balance. And cause it's like, if it was too gung-ho all of the time, you wouldn't be able to keep up. You get worn out. But it's like, we need those like deep dives into like people's motivations and why they're doing things, or just, you know, trying to understand them better. So we all just kind of like go to the same, destination on this journey.
I agree with everything. I think, yeah, you need to have, I think what Gary's done really amazing this season is slow us down, because you're telling a, origin story as well. You're building out for an audience, something that they could actually sink their teeth into and want to come back next week, right? So we're past the world now of, let's shoot a whole bunch of people and, hopefully they'll show back up. Like these are, Tommy character is a very, very deep character. Like, there's a lot going on with him, and it always has been. And, for people that are not in the power universe or don't understand how power is religion for some people, they understand, like, man, this is a complex character. And at times you have to have complex scripts and complex dialogue so you can really kind of get to the ground level of how he's thinking and what he's thinking about. So I really love this season where Gary took his time to explain certain things, give backstory to certain characters, make you understand the world. Obviously, me being a Chicago native, I really like the idea of how he built out the city this time. It has meaning, we're there for a reason, you know what I mean? And things just make sense. And that's also a credit to Joseph Sakura, who I know has had his voice, in an uproar this whole season, making sure that things are done as a Chicago native as well, making sure things are landing in the right place and we're saying what we need to say the right way. So when you watch it as a native, you're not like, oh man, that shit don't happen. You know what I mean? Or like, no, they don't exist, So I think they did a really good job this year of making sure that everything you'll see is a natural fit to the city. You know what I mean? And those slow down moments that you're discussing, that you're asking about, those are more informational moments for you to really understand what's going on in the psyche of the characters. And overall, man, they knocked it out the park. And that's why I said, like, I ain't giving away no spoilers either, but from Shooter to Eve, like when you understand like how that thing is moving right now, you like, ooh, oh, they cooked it up, man. It's cooking right now.
Nice. Thank you. And that's one of the things, the visuals are very smooth. That's one of the things that I'm really impressed about with the show. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Lenoir with Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure. Tommy holds such a special place in the Power universe. He can be equally as light as he is dark. And I'm curious, how do you keep the darkness so light?
That's funny to me because me and Joseph had this thing. I love Joseph. He is so great. Me and Joseph had this thing where sometimes where I feel like if I needed a little more Tommy Egan out of him, I would just go up to him. And I don't know if y'all know that meme of like, I think it's like Draymond, like, beating on somebody's chest. Talking to him, I go up, I'm like, hey bro, you're Tommy motherfucking Egan. Turn that up, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so but Joseph is also just naturally great at making those light moments. Like, he's very adamant about them too, because he knows his character. Like, he just really does. He's been playing that character for 10 years. And something that I just really appreciated about him is he wrote me a sweet little note. And he was like, you've helped me realize and learn things about a character I've been playing for a decade. And that's because I tried to give him the space to go out there and do those things that he wanted to do. Because Joseph was always in my ear like, Shooter, can I try this? And I'm like, hell yeah, you can. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, give me some more, like dig deeper. And so he really is able to like find and sometimes like create those moments, because again, it goes back to that balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to have some of that, make them likable and lovable. And, and so he does a fantastic job at it. No notes.
Yeah. How does he maintain, you said the what was the lightness, darkness?
How do you keep the darkness so light?
I mean, Tommy's character is interesting, right? Like, Tommy, he has an agenda. Like, Tommy's, everything he does is calculated in his head, right? Whether it works or not. But to me, it just feels like Tommy is playing everybody because Tommy's out for Tommy. You know what I mean? And I think at the end of the day, like he's messed up in the head, right? Every time he gets these flashbacks about his ex-girlfriends and everything else, he has that all built in, with Keisha's death and everything else. That's the dark side of Tommy. And I think, Tommy's real cold with it, right? I think so. I don't think I've ever seen Tommy like physically show his anger. It's more about action. You know what I mean? So he's very complicated. I think, he's just one of these, he's a criminal, right? One of these criminals who just is very smart, calculated, and he just does things at spur of the moment. And I think that's what's great about it, because then you don't know what to expect. And I think, to your point, and trying to find that or see that, I think we just take that journey with him. We don't know when it's going to happen. When it does happen, I think we all love him for that. So it's because he always has a reason, right? Like he always has his own personal reason why he's doing the things he does. So I don't know. I guess, we got to just keep watching the season and let it build out.
Thank you.
I guess I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting question. I would say that, how do you keep the dark light, right? Like, I think what's pretty great about that question and for Tommy is he's a fair guy. And he's a lot like, again, I'm going to go back to moral and codes, right? Because it's something that we've lost as a society in general, overall, right? Like character traits is something that I believe Tommy has an abundance of, right? In terms of like, and like I said, we've lost, generosity. We've lost, making sure people are good. We've lost like not lying. We've lost, I'm gonna air you out with receipts. Like these are things that we never used to do as a people, So I think when you ask the light versus dark question, the reason that the dark never gets over, the reason that the light overshadows the dark is because Tommy gonna tear the person's head off that deserves to have their head torn off, right? That's why it works. Right? Like you like, damn, he did that to him, but you like, he deserved it. You know what I mean? So a little bit of it is like, he's not a serial killer. He's someone that holds you accountable to what you said you was going to do. And when you cross him or when you do something to hurt him, he's going to hurt you back twice as hard. And that's really the center stage of what I believe, the Tommy character is, which is just fucking do good business with him. You know what I mean? Or else you'll feel the wrath of him. And again, I'm gonna go back to this. It's another great 50 Cent moment, right? Because we all know how great 50 is as a business person. Eve is very close friends with him. We know how great he is as a human. You know what I mean? But we also know don't cross 50. You know what I mean? Because he will fuck you up. And that's just the bottom line. And I believe that because 50 moves with a lot of morals and codes. And I think that the Tommy character has that as well, which is like, yo, this is dope. Like he tries to do business. He's trying to make a play, make a move. And then you double cross him, cancel Christmas. Cancel Christmas. So I think that's what makes the light a lot of times overshadow the dark, where you're not just getting violence and, people's heads getting busted and all that. It's like, no, when it get ready to be, demon time is well-deserved, from Tommy to actually, put that energy out there into the space. So that's how I would answer that question for you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Dana Abercrombie, The Coalition. I am fascinated by the seasons overall and how each of you bring your own flavor, but it's also very jointed. Everything is connected well together. And so I was wondering, can you talk about maybe the preparation beforehand of making sure that, you see things a certain way, how you want it to go, but also keeping the cohesion. Because again, this is an episodic. This is not just you doing one all 10 hours.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, I watch and I listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty new to the game. And so like for these gentlemen, like, you know, Dion was saying, Eve is a legend. I think that he's one too, because I've watched them. And so like for me, they're like big boats. And I'm just behind them on my little jet ski cutting up in the wake that they've created for somebody like, you know, me to come through and stuff like that. So I watch the work that they do. And you just gotta like study it to know what like the flow is. And then in this second season in particular, we all had the same DP. And so when I say I listen, I ask Jody, I'm like, you know, how does this go? Because I know that like, this ain't my thing. Like, I'm just a great babysitter. Give me your baby, tell me the needs, wants, likes, dietary restrictions. I'm gonna hold the baby, rock the baby, give it back to you. You'll probably miss me when I'm gone, but it's like, I listen and I do what I know your baby needs. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to come into here as like no auteur. It's like, I'm trying to, you know, to these earlier points of it's 10 of us doing different episodes and we're just trying to make it cohesive. So I'm trying to blend in with them, but also put a little flair here and there. So it's, you know, got a little pop to it. So like me, that's my thing. Like I watch everything down. I read all the episodes that come before mine. So like, if I had done a later episode, I read it because I need to know what's going on. But like, I haven't read their episodes because I'm still in the position of being a fan too. So like, I'm trying to preserve, you know, what I'm getting to witness to like later in their episodes. So yeah, I just watch and listen and I, you know, ask the actors. I'd be like, hey man, help me. Tell me something here. Like, what would you do? What would Tommy Egan do? What would, you know, like, whoever doing. So I just try to like draw from that and just try not to stick out like a sore thumb in the middle of the season or nothing like that. So that's just kind of like my approach. And you know, I just get in there and do what I know how to do, which is just do a little politicking.
Yeah, I mean, Sierra pretty much hit it on the head. Shooter, sorry, say shooter. That you know, it all starts with prep, right? For me, I mean, it's crazy when you come in so late in the game in the season that you either, I prefer to watch, hopefully the episodes are there so I understand I can track it rather than sit there and read 7-8 scripts because that'll just kill your time. You know, and that doesn't, it helps to some extent because you really, reading it is one thing, but then actually seeing how they perform is another, right? So that you have to understand. I mean, you know, that's it, for me, it's just crazy how people, you know, when I talk to people who want to be directors and stuff, I'm like, this is black and white, and you have to bring this to life. You know what I mean? So it really starts in prep. I have a process of whenever I go to direct an episode of whatever show I'm on, right after the table read or whatever the case is, I always reach out to every actor and I talk with them and I try to, I'll ask them like, hey, there's anything that's jumping off the page, anything you want to talk about. And what that does for me, it just kind of builds a relationship and it makes things a lot smoother and easier so that when you get on set, because a lot of people say I move fast, but the reality is that I move fast because I've already had these discussions with the actors before we get on set. You know what I mean? And it just saves us time, especially with TV. I mean, forget about it. Network is a whole other level too, where you just kind of, you shooting and running at that point. But with the premium, I mean, you know, it's always a great thing to sit with the actors, talk about the scenes, you know, during prep, you talk to your DP, you know, how things been going, what's, you know, how's the story going and the arc of every character and everything else. But I think, you know, that's the best way to keep it cohesive. Like you have to, like, you just can't come in there and be like, all right, I'm going to direct and not be prepared and just like wing it, because it's going to be a disaster. You know what I mean? I mean, you really have to take prep serious in order to be successful with your episode.
Yeah, I would, first off, I would just say, Shooter, you dope as hell. So cut it out. You ain't no damn jet ski crazy. You a goddamn boat.
I mean, I do love a good yacht, but
No, you're great. You are great, seriously. And everybody, I believe, that's had an opportunity to work on Power has been blessed to be able to work on Power and has been hand selected. So make sure you know that, because it's a very special show. And that's why I started off by saying, you know, Eve, it's just been amazing to watch someone who's been able to, since inception to now, that's still doing this, because this is a massive show. When this show is over, and remember, Power, this is the last extension of the original Power, right, Tommy? Right? So there's a lot that goes into this show in terms of how you think about it, what it is. It's not a spinoff, it is Power. You know what I mean? So everyone has to be great, and everyone has to come and deliver. It's the playoffs every time you come to a Power set, because you know whoever was before you just dropped 50. You know what I mean? You check it in like, all right, where my jersey at? Let me get my ball. You know what I mean? I gotta get some buckets. But I've been blessed to do my prep on this show. The first time I ever shot Power, this finale of last year, I was really into like reading all of the scripts, because I was coming in, I didn't know I was going to be doing it. So I had to really get my head together. And then I had to do a little bit different prep. I went and watched some of the old Powers just to remember, you know, the energy and the integrity of what it was. And then that allowed me to do that last finale. And, you know, and like Eve said, I think a little bit of why we're there also is because all of us are guns. We're all fast and proficient at what we do. And we all know what we want to have. This is not a set where you can sit there and go, I think I want to move the camera over there now. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, it ain't that type of part. You got to know what you're doing, or you'll get caught, you know, in a bad way, because the actors have been on this show for a while. They know what they're doing, right? So your job is to come to set and be able to tell them something that they're not doing, or something that they did not see, or, you know, an idea. And I got a little bit lucky with the finale, because what the finale allows you to do a bit of is change them, because you're going somewhere that they haven't went yet, right? So it allows you to have a little bit of a cheat code, because you go, oh man, you ain't never cried this season? Oh, okay, cool. You're gonna cry, or whatever that might be. You know what I mean? Like, you get to have a moment because you can see it's ending, they're going somewhere else. So the characters could do a little bit slightly different things than they've been doing the entire season. And that's what I really love about the finale is, you know, me being just an independent director. I always love engaging with actors and trying different things, even if I know it's going to be a no, or, you know, I normally call it being ugly, which is, you know, actors sometimes, if they haven't arrived at the artist that they are going to be, they're always trying to be cute or sexy, or lick their lips the right way, right? Make sure they face it in the camera the right way. And sometimes when you really do art, you got to get ugly. You know, you can't worry about you know, your hair ain't right, or it didn't get framed that right, because you're really just worried about the performance. And so the finale, what I thought was really great was being able to push them, try different things that I know, you know, maybe Gary would be like, D, you shouldn't have did that. But then he looks at me and be like, damn, that was all right. You know what I mean? Like, just trying to see if we could do something different to keep growing the characters, because like I said, they know it. You know, they've been living it. You know, Joe Sikora is Tommy so much to where people don't even know his name at times. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, Tommy. You know what I mean? He like, man, my name is Joseph, man. You know what I mean? So a little bit of it's like they have that extension of that character so much to where you like, man, let's figure out how you could do a little bit different thing. Can Tommy have, you know, a little more heart in this moment? Can we find something with Isaac and Isaac I really like a lot for this conversation, because Isaac, being a former football player, is someone that I really love watching on screen, because he's continuously getting better, right? Like, he doesn't come from the world of thespian. He wasn't on stage. You know, he learned this. He got hired. He came into the show, and every episode you can see his growth. So he's someone that I always tend to be like, man, Isaac, try this, try that, because he's learning. You know what I mean? And he's such a big guy and such a good charismatic character to where I believe this season you're gonna see like him take some really, really big turns in the right way where you like, yo, he cold. You know what I mean? He reminds me of I don't know if you guys remember Spencer for Hire, but there was a character on there a long time ago called Hawk. And Hawk was, didn't say much, but when he says something, you like, okay, he just said something. So Isaac has a lot of that Hawk in him, you know what I mean? Where it's like a look or a gesture or, a moment or whatever. You like, okay, I get it. I understand, because acting a lot of times is not about words, but more so how you move or how you move your face or a facial expression. And I love that the show kind of goes to this place where now you're starting to see the actors be able to really act. So that's my long-winded answer.
Yeah, no, but to your point though, I think Gary did a great thing this season where we're able to see each character developed in a way we haven't seen before. So, I think everyone's going to enjoy that, and just seeing where Diamond goes, where Jannard goes, and so on. I think it's going to be pretty amazing. It's going to be a killer season.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody definitely adding to their tool bags for sure.
Jill Monroe, RSVP, KBLA Talk 1580. So we've mentioned Gary's name a couple of times throughout this conversation. And I know I interviewed Joseph the first season, and he discussed how he felt Tommy wasn't where he should be or in his place initially at first. And I feel with what I've seen early, we're back in that feeling of power, so to speak, but a step forward because we're seeing the evolution of the characters. So for you as directors, there's an aesthetic to power that we've become familiar with. Obviously, you've known it all along. But what are your favorite types of scenes or elements to shoot where you have that power aesthetic that you think about, but also incorporating your own vision on top of that? And were there any of those moments this season for you on your episode?
I mean, for me, I definitely love when we do exteriors, just to see the world in a bigger picture, right? Especially this season, what Dion mentioned before, like season 1, it kind of just focused on one area of Chicago, and it was kind of like, it just always felt like it was downtown. It was always like the Flanagan's world, you know what I mean? And where this season now, I mean, we're in the hood, and we're supposed to be, like, we see Chicago, what Chicago really is, you know what I mean? I felt that was really, really important. And I loved it. I loved the fact that, the ethnicity and the diversity in this new season, right? So like now you not only have the African Americans, but you also have the Latinos, and that story intertwining, right? And then you still have the Flanagans and I guess the Serbs or whatever they are. But it feels more grounded this season. It just feels so much better. It feels like the original Power. And again, my thing is I love the exteriors more. I think it's fun when you can play with different times of days and seeing cars out there and buildings and train traffic.
Trains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the people running by yelling Tommy all the time while we're shooting. But yeah, that's it for me. It's season 1. It was just a different thing. It was a different showrunner. He did his best, and it was just not the Tommy I think that we were used to. I think there was a bit of it there, but I also feel he was kind of restricted with the storyline. And I think season 2 with Gary knowing the Tommy character just kind of opened that world back up. And so I think again, people are going to really enjoy season 2.
Yeah, I agree with each point of like the exteriors, because what's funny for me is I'm from Mobile, Alabama. I am a country girl. Okay. So like at first when I got out there, I'm like trying to get away from the train and like some of these things. And so, but then Jody and them were like, but look, and I'm like, I started to understand, you know what I'm saying? So it helped me have like an understanding and like an appreciation of the city, and being there for Power Force is like my second time shooting something in Chicago. So like I felt a little more at home. I'd already liked it, you know what I'm saying? And so those exteriors do definitely have like a certain charm to them in a sense to help you like know and love and understand the place a little bit better. So I definitely grew to appreciate them through this show, which I was thankful for, because at first I was like, oh my God, it's loud and all of this stuff. But then next thing you know, I'm like, all right, start on the train, and then, you know, we'll come into the scene that way to just get those like textures, you know what I'm saying, that you need. So I agree with that point there. And then I also like when we go to like these new spaces and, you know, they light them up real dope and we're doing interesting things. Like in my episode, I have this crazy scene. Y'all will know it when you see it, but like, I love the vibe of what was going on in there. When y'all see that scene, y'all gonna be like, that shit is crazy. But just everything that was going on in there was just dope, and down to the lights and just the energy and stuff in there. So I like going to tell these new, you know, these stories in these new spaces, especially because I feel like you learn something and you get a chance to create something fresh. And that tells, you know, setting is a character in itself, basically.
Yeah, that when you get an opportunity, you know, the original Power was New York. The backdrop of these the most successful things that we see, film or television, the backdrop is a character. You know, whatever it might be that you're thinking about, you know, if it's the South, you know what I mean? If you're thinking about Hustle and Flow, you know, you just remember how that felt and how that looked. You know, that's a world, you know, the original Power, that's a world, New York, you know, seeing the Ghost and Tommy on them streets and, you know, going in and out of the nightclub. And that's a whole piece to how this works. It's no different. Chicago is a character. So, you know, the L train and the downtown and the loop and the, you know, where he's driving the car and getting out, that's just as important as, you know, at times the scene, you know, because you have to put people in that world. And I believe that what Eve said is absolutely 100% correct. Like Gary, because he was an original, you know, brand of this show, he knew what to do to get Tommy's compass back. Do you know what I mean? I think at times in the original first season, you know, it was a little bit of, and whoever was writing, it was like, you're trying to figure out how to put this character in another world. That's very hard to do, whomever it is. You know what I mean? This is something that we all love, and we're like, yo, man, don't fuck it up. You know what I mean? So imagine the energy and the pressure behind that. But now you can see, okay, that didn't land how we wanted to, but here we got to put them back in the world that everyone remembers. And the exteriors to me were a slam dunk in season 2. Being able to get out, shoot Chicago, feel it, be inside, you know, be in those worlds, put the actors in those worlds, to me was everything that allows you to paint as a director, Jody to paint as a cinematographer, because that's why you watch the shit. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the cheapest movie, you try to do as many interiors as you can. You just try to cut the stuff, but to, you know, you're using stock footage and stuff, but this is great because they allowed you to take your camera outside and really, like Shooter just said, pan off of the L train down to a scene. That's dope. You know what I mean? And for it to be a Black-led show, you know what I mean? Or Black produced show, or however you want to frame it, you know, is giving us all opportunities to work in this medium, which at a time we could not get in. It's allowing people that look like us, that's texturally like us, to be in a show like this. So when you start talking about being able to jump out and shoot exterior shots, that might not sound like a big deal to a lot of people, but that's a big deal to a Black filmmaker working on a television show. You know what I mean? Because you normally got to be A, B, C, D. You go inside, you cut to this, you're on the stage, whatever it might be. So to be able to really be able to get out there and shoot, man, like that's what I love most about the show. And also I think you need that to make sure people understand that, you know, the show is gritty and it's dope and it's edgy and it feels good and the trailer's going to trailer right. You know what I mean? And the car really did that stunt. And, you know, he really shot that gun. Like, to be able to do those things is dope because it just makes it all come up, especially with a Tommy. You know, it's now like, yo, Tommy's like, he's live in it. He's in that world and he's kicking ass. And that's what we wanted to portray in this one.
Amazing. Well, Sierra, Shooter, Dion, Eve, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We are looking forward to seeing season 2 of Power Book 4 Force. On behalf of the largest association of Black TV and film critics, thank you for checking out this edition of the AAFCA series.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Shout out to
Thank
Gil,
you.
man. Gil, we love you, man. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you guys.